Leo Tolstoy, one of the greatest writers in world literature, is best known for his monumental works War and Peace, 1869, and Anna Karenina, 1877. Born into Russian nobility, Tolstoy's life and writings reflect his deep philosophical inquiry into the nature of life, morality, and human relationships. His works transcend simple narratives, offering profound examinations of society, war, love, and spirituality. Tolstoy's influence extends beyond literature. He was a social reformer, pacifist, and moral philosopher who spent much of his later life advocating for a return to simple living, nonviolence, and spiritual reflection. His radical religious views, which rejected the authority of the Russian Orthodox Church, earned him both admiration and criticism. The contrast between Tolstoy's early aristocratic life and his later embrace of Christian anarchism and pacifism defines much of his philosophical journey. He was deeply affected by the moral contradictions he saw in Russian society and the world around him, particularly the disparity between wealth and poverty, and the violence inherent in systems of power and control. This biography explores not only Tolstoy's literary genius but also the evolution of his philosophical beliefs, his complex personal life, and his enduring influence on subsequent generations of writers, thinkers, and social activists. Tolstoy's legacy is that of a writer who, through his profound inquiry into human nature, left an indelible mark on world literature and thought. Leo Tolstoy was born Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy on September 9, 1828, at Yasnaya Polyana, his family's ancestral estate, located about 130 miles south of Moscow. He came from an aristocratic family with a long history of service to the Russian state. His father, Count Nikolai Ilyich Tolstoy, was a veteran of the Napoleonic Wars, and his mother, Princess Maria Volkonskaya, belonged to one of Russia's most distinguished noble families. Tolstoy's early life was marked by privilege, but also by personal loss. His mother died when he was only 2 years old, and his father passed away when he was 9. After his parents' deaths, he and his siblings were raised by relatives. The death of his parents would leave a lasting impact on Tolstoy, fueling his later preoccupation with themes of mortality and human suffering. As a child, Tolstoy was inquisitive, energetic, and observant. He had a vivid imagination and was drawn to stories of heroism, history, and moral dilemmas. His early education took place at home under the tutelage of private teachers, as was common for aristocratic children at the time. He quickly developed a passion for reading, especially the works of Rousseau, which would profoundly influence his moral and philosophical outlook in later years. The estate of Yasnaya Polyana provided Tolstoy with a close connection to nature and the rhythms of rural life. The contrast between the lives of the peasants who worked on his family's estate and his own privileged upbringing would later become a central concern in his writings and his personal life, as he grappled with issues of social justice, inequality, and moral responsibility. By the age of 16, Tolstoy was enrolled at Kazan University, where his formal education would begin, but his years of study would soon reveal his dissatisfaction with academic life and a growing desire for a more meaningful existence. In 1844, at the age of 16, Leo Tolstoy entered Kazan University with the intention of studying law and Oriental languages. However, he quickly became disillusioned with academic life. He found the structure and rigor of formal education stifling and unengaging, and his professors uninspiring. Tolstoy's rebellious nature led him to neglect his studies, and after 2 years, he left the university without completing his degree. During his time in Kazan, Tolstoy began to question not only the value of formal education but also the meaning of life itself. He became deeply interested in the works of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, whose ideas about natural goodness and the corrupting influence of society resonated with him. This period marked the beginning of Tolstoy's lifelong search for truth and moral clarity, which would later manifest in both his fiction and his personal philosophy. After leaving the university, Tolstoy returned to the family estate at Yasnaya Polyana. It was here that he first attempted to make sense of his intellectual and moral struggles through writing. Though these early efforts were mostly private, they laid the foundation for his later works, which would explore similar themes of identity, morality, and the human condition. Tolstoy's youthful restlessness also led him to St. Petersburg and Moscow, where he mingled with the intellectual elite of Russia. However, he found himself increasingly alienated from the frivolousness and superficiality of high society. His experiences during this time further deepened his sense of dissatisfaction with aristocratic life and contributed to his growing moral and existential crisis. It was in this period that Tolstoy began to record his thoughts and experiences in a series of diaries, a practice he maintained throughout his life. These diaries reveal his intense self-examination and his early attempts to grapple with the contradictions between his privileged upbringing and his burgeoning sense of moral responsibility toward the less fortunate. By the time he reached his early 20s, Tolstoy had already begun to sense that his true calling lay not in a conventional career or academic pursuit, but in writing and in seeking a deeper understanding of the human experience. This realization would soon lead him to a new chapter in his life, one that would involve military service, travel, and the first stirrings of his literary career. In 1851, seeking a new direction in life, Tolstoy joined his older brother Nikolai in the Caucasus, where Nikolai was serving in the Russian army. The decision to enlist was partly motivated by Tolstoy's desire to escape the aimlessness he felt in Moscow and Yasnaya Polyana. The Caucasus was a remote and rugged region, and Tolstoy was fascinated by its wild beauty and the simplicity of life among the indigenous peoples. Tolstoy's time in the army had a profound impact on him, both as a writer and as a thinker. He experienced firsthand the brutality of war and the harsh realities of life as a soldier. These experiences would later become the basis for some of his early literary works, including The Cossacks, 1863, and Sevastopol Sketches, 1855, which vividly depict the moral ambiguities of war and the inner struggles of soldiers. During this period, Tolstoy also began to question the values and purpose of military service. While he admired the bravery and camaraderie of his fellow soldiers, he was deeply troubled by the violence and senseless destruction he witnessed. These reflections would eventually lead to his lifelong commitment to pacifism and his rejection of all forms of state-sanctioned violence. In the Caucasus, Tolstoy found time to write. His first novel, Childhood, 1852, a semi-autobiographical work, was published while he was still in the army. It received critical acclaim and marked the beginning of his literary career. The novel was followed by Boyhood, 1854, and Youth, 1857, which together form a trilogy that explores the inner life of a young boy growing up in Russia. These works are notable for their psychological depth and their exploration of the moral and spiritual development of the protagonist, a theme that would recur throughout Tolstoy's later works. Tolstoy's experiences in the Caucasus, combined with his growing dissatisfaction with the violence of military life, led to a deepening of his philosophical and spiritual inquiries. He began to explore the concepts of death, immortality, and the meaning of life, ideas that would later form the core of his major works. By the time the Crimean War broke out in 1853, Tolstoy was fully immersed in his writing. His experiences during the war, particularly the siege of Sevastopol, would further shape his views on war and peace and provide material for his later masterpiece, War and Peace. After the conclusion of the Crimean War in 1855, Tolstoy returned to civilian life, fully committed to pursuing his literary ambitions. The publication of Sevastopol Sketches, based on his experiences during the siege of Sevastopol, had earned him widespread recognition in Russian literary circles. These sketches, which vividly portrayed the horrors and heroism of war, were notable for their realistic depiction of soldiers' lives and the moral dilemmas they faced. Tolstoy's writing, even at this early stage, was marked by a deep concern for human suffering and a questioning of the morality of war. Tolstoy's reputation grew rapidly after the success of Sevastopol Sketches. His style, which combined detailed realism with philosophical reflection, set him apart from many of his contemporaries. During this period, he became acquainted with leading Russian writers, including Ivan Turgenev, with whom he developed a complex and often contentious relationship. While both men shared an interest in social reform, their personal and ideological differences led to frequent disagreements. Turgenev represented the intellectual, liberal wing of the Russian intelligentsia, while Tolstoy's views were more individualistic and increasingly anti-institutional. At the same time, Tolstoy's personal life was becoming more unsettled. Although he was gaining recognition as a writer, he felt disillusioned with the literary and social circles of St. Petersburg and Moscow. He grew increasingly critical of the superficiality and hypocrisy he observed among the Russian elite, particularly the nobility to which he himself belonged. This dissatisfaction fueled his desire to find deeper meaning in life, a search that would take him in unexpected directions. In 1857, Tolstoy embarked on a trip to Western Europe, traveling through France, Switzerland, Germany, and Italy. This journey was a turning point in his intellectual development, exposing him to new ideas and deepening his philosophical inquiries. In Paris, Tolstoy witnessed a public execution, an event that profoundly affected him. He was horrified by the cold, mechanical nature of the execution process and saw it as a symbol of the dehumanizing effects of modern civilization. This experience further solidified his opposition to institutional violence and would later influence his advocacy for nonviolence and moral purity. Tolstoy's travels also brought him into contact with prominent European intellectuals and writers. He met Victor Hugo, whose novel Les Miserables, 1862, would have a lasting influence on his own writing, particularly in its exploration of the social and moral implications of human suffering. He also encountered Charles Dickens, whose works Tolstoy admired for their portrayal of the struggles of ordinary people. These meetings reinforced Tolstoy's growing belief that literature should serve a moral purpose, helping to awaken people's consciences and encouraging them to live more justly. Despite his admiration for European writers and thinkers, Tolstoy was critical of what he saw as the decadence and materialism of Western society. He observed that the industrialization of Europe had led to greater social inequality and a loss of spiritual values. These observations deepened his skepticism of progress and modernity, themes that would feature prominently in his later works. Tolstoy's travels in Europe also exposed him to educational reform movements, particularly those inspired by the ideas of Swiss educator Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi. Tolstoy was impressed by Pestalozzi's emphasis on experiential learning and the development of the whole person, ideas that resonated with Tolstoy's own desire to reform Russian education. Upon his return to Russia in 1861, Tolstoy would establish a school for peasant children at Yasnaya Polyana, where he experimented with new teaching methods that emphasized creativity, independence, and moral development. The period from 1855 to 1862 was thus one of intellectual exploration and personal reflection for Tolstoy. His literary output during this time was relatively modest compared to the massive works that would follow, but his travels and encounters with European ideas were crucial in shaping his philosophical worldview. As he returned to Russia, Tolstoy was increasingly focused on questions of morality, education, and the purpose of life. These concerns would soon find expression in his greatest work, War and Peace. In 1862, at the age of 34, Tolstoy married Sofia Andreevna Bayers, the daughter of a prominent Moscow physician. Sofia, who was 16 years younger than Tolstoy, played a significant role in his life and work. Their marriage began with mutual affection and a shared enthusiasm for Tolstoy's literary projects. Sofia became his secretary, editor, and critic, helping him manage the massive undertaking that was War and Peace. She would transcribe his manuscripts, often multiple times, and offer feedback on his work, a collaboration that was both productive and, at times, fraught with tension. Tolstoy and Sofia would have 13 children together, 8 of whom survived into adulthood. Family life at Yasnaya Polyana was intense and bustling, with the estate serving as both a home and a creative workshop for Tolstoy. The early years of their marriage were among the happiest and most fruitful of Tolstoy's life, as he balanced his responsibilities as a husband and father with his growing ambition as a writer. It was during these years that Tolstoy began work on War and Peace, a novel that would become one of the most celebrated works in world literature. War and Peace is an epic narrative set during the Napoleonic Wars and follows the lives of several aristocratic families, most notably the Bolkonskys, the Rostovs, and the Bazhukovs. At its core, the novel is a meditation on history, free will, and the nature of power. Tolstoy's exploration of these themes was shaped by his reading of historical texts, his experiences in the military, and his philosophical reflections on the meaning of life. The writing of War and Peace was a monumental task that consumed Tolstoy for more than 5 years. He conducted extensive historical research, drawing on military records, letters, and memoirs to ensure the accuracy of his depiction of the Napoleonic Wars. At the same time, Tolstoy infused the novel with his own philosophical beliefs, particularly his growing skepticism of individual agency in shaping historical events. One of the central ideas in War and Peace is that history is shaped not by great leaders but by the collective actions of ordinary people, a theme that challenges the traditional narratives of heroism and military glory. The novel also reflects Tolstoy's evolving views on morality and spirituality. Through characters like Pierre Bezukhov and Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, Tolstoy examines the search for meaning in life, the futility of human ambition, and the possibility of personal redemption. These themes would become even more pronounced in Tolstoy's later works, as he increasingly turned away from the material world and toward a more ascetic, spiritual worldview. Upon its publication in 1869, War and Peace was met with widespread acclaim, both in Russia and abroad. Critics praised its realism, its psychological depth, and its sweeping portrayal of Russian society. The novel's success solidified Tolstoy's reputation as one of the greatest writers of his time. However, despite its success, Tolstoy was not entirely satisfied with the novel. He felt that it did not fully capture the moral and spiritual truths he was seeking, a dissatisfaction that would drive him to write Anna Karenina and, later, to explore more explicitly religious themes in his works. During the period of writing War and Peace, Tolstoy's personal life remained relatively stable, though tensions were beginning to emerge in his marriage. While Sophia supported his work, she struggled with the demands of managing a large household and raising their children. Tolstoy, meanwhile, was increasingly preoccupied with questions of morality and the purpose of life, concerns that would come to dominate his later years. Tolstoy's experiences during this period, his marriage, the birth of his children, and the writing of War and Peace, marked the peak of his creative and personal life. However, they also set the stage for the profound spiritual crisis that would soon engulf him, leading to a radical transformation in both his personal beliefs and his literary output. After the publication of War and Peace, Tolstoy turned his attention to what would become his next major work, Anna Karenina. This novel, first published in serial form between 1873 and 1877, is widely regarded as one of the greatest novels in world literature. Unlike War and Peace, which dealt with broad historical events, Anna Karenina is a more intimate exploration of human relationships, focusing on the emotional and moral struggles of its characters. At the heart of the novel is the tragic story of Anna Karenina, a beautiful and aristocratic woman who embarks on an affair with Count Vronsky, a dashing officer. Her passionate love affair leads to her social ostracism and eventual downfall. Anna's story is contrasted with the more stable, though still imperfect, marriage of Konstantin Levin and Kitty Sherbatsky. Levin, often seen as a semi-autobiographical character, reflects many of Tolstoy's own moral and philosophical concerns, particularly his search for meaning in life and his preoccupation with questions of faith. Anna Karenina is a complex novel that explores themes of love, fidelity, social hypocrisy, and the conflict between personal desires and societal expectations. Tolstoy's portrayal of Anna's inner turmoil and her ultimate despair reflects his growing disillusionment with the aristocratic society to which he belonged. At the same time, the novel presents a nuanced exploration of marriage and family life, showing both the joys and challenges of long-term relationships. While writing Anna Karenina, Tolstoy was undergoing a profound personal and spiritual crisis. Despite his success as a writer, he was increasingly dissatisfied with his life and the society around him. He was troubled by the inequality and injustice he saw in Russian society, particularly the plight of the peasantry, and he began to question the moral legitimacy of his own wealth and privilege. These concerns led him to a deepening sense of guilt and a growing interest in spiritual matters. Tolstoy's spiritual crisis reached its peak in the late 1870s, shortly after the completion of Anna Karenina. He began to reject the values of the Russian Orthodox Church and the aristocratic lifestyle in which he had been raised. Instead, he embraced a form of Christian anarchism that emphasized nonviolence, simplicity, and the rejection of material wealth. This transformation would have a profound impact on his later works, as well as on his personal life, leading to increased tensions within his family and his social circle. Despite the turmoil in his personal life, Anna Karenina was a critical and commercial success. Readers were captivated by Tolstoy's psychological insight and his ability to depict the complexities of human emotions and relationships. The novel's exploration of the conflict between individual desires and social conventions resonated with many, and it has continued to be celebrated as one of the most insightful portrayals of human nature in literature. Tolstoy's spiritual crisis, however, would lead him away from the kind of fiction he had written in War and Peace and Anna Karenina. By the 1880s, he had begun to move toward a more didactic style of writing, focusing on moral and religious themes. This shift in his worldview would culminate in his later works, where he sought to explore the nature of faith, the meaning of life, and the possibility of redemption. As Tolstoy grappled with these existential questions, his personal life became increasingly strained. His marriage to Sophia, once a source of stability and support, began to suffer as Tolstoy's spiritual beliefs led him to renounce the material comforts of aristocratic life. These tensions would come to a head in the final decades of his life, as he sought to live according to his newfound convictions. By the early 1880s, Leo Tolstoy was experiencing a profound personal and spiritual transformation. Despite his monumental success with War and Peace and Anna Karenina, he felt an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction with his life and the direction of his work. Tolstoy's spiritual crisis, which had been brewing during the writing of Anna Karenina, culminated in what he later referred to as his conversion. This period marked a radical shift in his beliefs, lifestyle, and worldview, shaping his philosophy for the remainder of his life. Tolstoy's inner turmoil was fueled by a deep questioning of the meaning of life, the inevitability of death, and the contradictions he saw in society. He was particularly disturbed by the stark disparity between the wealth and privilege of the aristocracy and the poverty of the Russian peasantry. His growing awareness of social inequality led him to reject his own aristocratic background and embrace a life of simplicity, inspired by the teachings of Jesus Christ, especially the Sermon on the Mount. This spiritual awakening led Tolstoy to a form of Christian anarchism, which rejected all forms of institutionalized religion, government, and violence. He came to believe that the true essence of Christianity lay in the teachings of Jesus on love, nonviolence, and humility, rather than in the dogma and rituals of the Russian Orthodox Church. Tolstoy's ideas put him at odds with both the Church and the Russian state, leading to his eventual excommunication in 1901. Tolstoy's rejection of institutional religion was outlined in his seminal work A Confession, 1882, an autobiographical essay in which he chronicled his spiritual journey and his search for meaning. In this text, he described his despair over the futility of life and his realization that religious faith offered the only true answer to the existential questions he had been grappling with. However, Tolstoy's faith was not in the formal teachings of the Church but in a personal and direct understanding of Christ's message of love, nonviolence, and self-denial. In What I Believe, also known as My Religion, published in 1884, Tolstoy further expounded on his moral and spiritual philosophy. He rejected the authority of the state and the Church, advocating instead for a life based on love, humility, and non-resistance to evil. Tolstoy's doctrine of nonviolence would later influence figures such as Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., who drew inspiration from Tolstoy's ideas in their own struggles for social justice and nonviolent resistance. During this period, Tolstoy also became increasingly concerned with issues of social justice and economic inequality. He began to advocate for a return to a simpler, agrarian way of life, which he believed was more in line with Christian principles. Tolstoy's desire to live according to his moral beliefs led him to make significant changes in his own life. He adopted a vegetarian diet, renounced alcohol and tobacco, and sought to live a life of manual labor, working in the fields alongside the peasants at Yasnaya Polyana. He also gave up the copyrights to many of his works, believing that art should not be used for personal gain. However, Tolstoy's radical beliefs and lifestyle changes created significant tension within his family. His wife, Sophia, struggled to reconcile Tolstoy's growing asceticism with the practical realities of managing their household and raising their children. Sophia was particularly distressed by Tolstoy's decision to give away much of his wealth, as well as his increasing preoccupation with spiritual and philosophical matters at the expense of his writing. These tensions would become a defining feature of their later years together, leading to frequent arguments and a growing emotional distance between them. Despite these personal conflicts, Tolstoy continued to write prolifically during the 1880s, producing both fiction and non-fiction works that reflected his evolving beliefs. One of his most important works from this period is The Death of Ivan Ilyich, 1886, a novella that explores the inevitability of death and the possibility of spiritual redemption. The story, which tells of a high-ranking official's gradual realization of the futility of his life as he lies on his deathbed, is a powerful meditation on the human condition and the search for meaning in the face of mortality. In The Death of Ivan Ilyich, Tolstoy's philosophical concerns come to the forefront. The novella's protagonist experiences a profound inner transformation as he confronts the reality of his impending death, ultimately finding peace in the acceptance of his mortality and the rejection of worldly concerns. The novella's themes of death, spiritual awakening, and the pursuit of a meaningful life reflect Tolstoy's own preoccupations during this period of his life. In addition to his fiction, Tolstoy wrote numerous essays and treatises on religion, morality, and social reform. In The Kingdom of God is Within You, 1894, one of his most influential works, Tolstoy articulated his vision of a Christian society based on the principles of nonviolence, love, and individual conscience. This book, which was banned in Russia, had a profound impact on pacifist movements around the world and helped to establish Tolstoy as a leading figure in the global movement for nonviolent resistance. Throughout the 1880s, Tolstoy's ideas increasingly focused on the role of the individual in resisting injustice and living a morally upright life. He argued that true change could not come from political or social institutions but only from the moral awakening of individuals. This belief in personal responsibility and nonviolent resistance would become central to his later writings and activism. Tolstoy's spiritual awakening during this period marked a turning point in his life and work. While he continued to be a towering figure in the world of literature, his primary focus had shifted to the moral and spiritual questions that would dominate his later years. His rejection of wealth, fame, and power, combined with his commitment to living according to his beliefs, made him a controversial figure both in Russia and abroad. However, his influence on literature, philosophy, and social activism would only continue to grow in the decades to come. By the 1890s, Tolstoy had fully embraced his role as a moral philosopher and social critic, but he did not abandon fiction entirely. While much of his writing during this period was focused on religious and philosophical essays, he continued to produce powerful works of fiction that reflected his evolving beliefs. One of Tolstoy's most significant works from this period is Resurrection, 1899, his last major novel. In Resurrection, Tolstoy takes on the Russian legal system, the church, and the aristocracy in a scathing critique of social and moral corruption. The novel tells the story of Prince Dmitry Nekhlyudov, a nobleman who seeks redemption after realizing his role in the downfall of a young woman, Katerina Maslova, whom he had seduced and abandoned years earlier. Maslova, now a prostitute, is wrongfully convicted of murder, and Nekhlyudov, tormented by guilt, decides to follow her into exile in Siberia in an attempt to atone for his sins. Resurrection reflects many of the themes that had come to dominate Tolstoy's later thinking: the need for personal moral responsibility, the corrupting influence of wealth and power, and the possibility of spiritual redemption through love and self-sacrifice. The novel's critique of institutional religion and the legal system also mirrors Tolstoy's own views on the failure of these institutions to live up to Christian ideals. While Resurrection was less well received than War and Peace and Anna Karenina, it remains an important work in Tolstoy's oeuvre, offering a window into his late-career moral and spiritual concerns. In addition to Resurrection, Tolstoy wrote a number of short stories and novellas during this period that explored similar themes. The Kreutzer Sonata, 1889, for example, is a novella that deals with issues of love, marriage, and sexual jealousy. The story's protagonist, Poznechev, recounts how his obsessive jealousy led him to murder his wife. The novella, which was controversial for its frank discussion of sexual morality, reflects Tolstoy's increasingly ascetic views on love and sexuality. Tolstoy had come to believe that sexual desire was a destructive force that led to the degradation of both individuals and society. The Kreutzer Sonata was banned by Russian authorities for its radical views, but it remains one of Tolstoy's most provocative and powerful works. Another important work from this period is Father Sergius, 1898, a novella about a nobleman who renounces his worldly life to become a monk, only to struggle with his own spiritual pride and human desires. Father Sergius is a deeply personal work for Tolstoy, as it reflects his own struggles with the temptations of fame, wealth, and power, as well as his desire to live a life of moral purity. The story's protagonist, like Tolstoy, seeks to overcome his own weaknesses through a life of self-denial and spiritual discipline. Tolstoy also continued to write essays and treatises during the 1890s that reflected his commitment to nonviolence, social justice, and religious reform. One of his most influential works from this period is What is Art? 1897, in which he laid out his views on the role of art in society. In this treatise, Tolstoy argued that true art should serve a moral purpose, promoting the values of love, compassion, and social justice. He criticized much of contemporary art as being elitist and disconnected from the needs of ordinary people. For Tolstoy, art was not an end in itself but a means of conveying important moral and spiritual truths. By the end of the 1890s, Tolstoy had become an internationally renowned figure, not just as a writer but as a moral and spiritual leader. His ideas on nonviolence and social justice attracted followers from around the world, and his influence extended beyond the literary world into the realms of politics and philosophy. However, his growing fame and the increasingly radical nature of his beliefs also led to conflicts with the Russian government and the Orthodox Church, both of which viewed Tolstoy as a dangerous figure. As Tolstoy entered the final decade of his life, he remained committed to his vision of a just and moral society based on the principles of love, nonviolence, and personal responsibility. His later works, though often less well known than his earlier masterpieces, continue to resonate with readers today for their deep exploration of the human condition and the search for meaning in a complex and often unjust world. In the final decade of his life, Leo Tolstoy's radical spiritual and moral beliefs brought him into direct conflict with the Russian Orthodox Church and the Russian government. The culmination of this conflict came in 1901 when the Church officially excommunicated Tolstoy. This dramatic event marked a significant turning point in Tolstoy's life, highlighting the deep rift between his personal interpretation of Christianity and the doctrines of the established church. The seeds of this conflict had been sown much earlier in Tolstoy's life, as he began to question the legitimacy of organized religion during his spiritual crisis in the late 1870s and 1880s. Tolstoy had come to believe that the true essence of Christianity lay in the teachings of Jesus, particularly the Sermon on the Mount, which emphasized love, nonviolence, and humility. He rejected the institutionalized religion of the Orthodox Church, which he saw as corrupt, materialistic, and complicit in the oppression of the Russian people. Tolstoy's views on religion were clearly articulated in several of his works, including A Confession, 1882, and The Kingdom of God is Within You, 1894, where he laid out his belief in a personal, non-dogmatic form of Christianity. He argued that the Church had strayed from the true teachings of Christ by aligning itself with the state, promoting violence, and accumulating wealth and power. For Tolstoy, the Church had become an institution that perpetuated social inequality and moral decay, rather than promoting the values of love, compassion, and justice. These views, combined with Tolstoy's growing international reputation as a social critic and moral philosopher, increasingly alarmed the Russian Orthodox Church. The Church saw Tolstoy's writings as a direct threat to its authority and an incitement to rebellion against both religious and political institutions. In February 1901, the Holy Synod of the Russian Orthodox Church issued a formal decree excommunicating Tolstoy from the Church. The decree condemned Tolstoy's rejection of church doctrines, his criticism of the clergy, and his advocacy of a false teaching that denied the divinity of Christ and the authority of the Church. The excommunication was a public and humiliating rebuke, and it sparked a significant outcry both in Russia and internationally. Tolstoy, however, was largely unfazed by the Church's actions. In a letter written shortly after the excommunication, he stated that while he did not consider himself part of the Orthodox Church, he still saw himself as a Christian in the truest sense of the word, committed to living according to the moral teachings of Christ. He viewed the Church's condemnation as evidence of its own moral bankruptcy, rather than a reflection on his personal faith. The excommunication also deepened the divide between Tolstoy and his wife, Sophia. While Tolstoy had long since rejected the Orthodox Church, Sophia remained a devout believer and was deeply troubled by the excommunication. She feared for the salvation of her husband's soul and was distressed by the public scandal that the decree had caused. This added to the already significant tensions in their marriage, as Sophia struggled to come to terms with Tolstoy's growing asceticism, his renunciation of wealth, and his increasing distance from the family. Despite the personal and public fallout from his excommunication, Tolstoy continued to pursue his vision of a just and moral society based on the principles of love, nonviolence, and personal responsibility. He wrote extensively during this period, producing essays, letters, and treatises that further developed his ideas on religion, ethics, and social reform. His works from this period reflect a deepening commitment to pacifism and a rejection of all forms of violence, including state violence and war. One of the most notable works from this period is Haji Murat, published posthumously in 1912, a novella set during the Caucasian War of the 19th century. The story of Haji Murat, a Chechen rebel leader who defects to the Russians in a bid to save his family, is a powerful exploration of the futility and tragedy of war. Although it was written toward the end of Tolstoy's life, Haji Murat is often considered one of his finest works, showcasing his ability to blend fiction with his moral and political concerns. During this time, Tolstoy also became increasingly outspoken in his opposition to the Russian government, particularly its treatment of political dissidents and its involvement in foreign wars. His condemnation of the Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905, and his support for the non-violent resistance of the Russian peasantry further alienated him from the authorities. Tolstoy's political writings were frequently censored in Russia, but they were widely read and admired abroad, particularly by pacifists and social reformers. As Tolstoy's fame and influence grew, so too did the number of followers who were drawn to his teachings. Tolstoyan communities began to spring up around the world, particularly in Europe and the United States, where his ideas on nonviolence and social justice found a receptive audience. These communities sought to live according to Tolstoy's principles, rejecting material wealth and power, embracing vegetarianism, and advocating for social equality and nonviolent resistance to oppression. However, Tolstoy's growing fame and the increasing number of followers who came to Yasnaya Polyana to seek his guidance only added to the tensions within his family. Sophia resented the constant stream of visitors and the financial strain that Tolstoy's charitable activities placed on the family. She also struggled with the fact that Tolstoy had effectively given up writing fiction, the activity that had once defined his career and brought them both fame and fortune. Sophia felt increasingly isolated as Tolstoy became more preoccupied with his spiritual and moral pursuits. In the final years of his life, the conflict between Tolstoy's personal beliefs and the realities of his family life reached a breaking point. In 1910, at the age of 82, Tolstoy made the dramatic decision to leave his home at Yasnaya Polyana and live out the rest of his days in solitude, away from the distractions and conflicts of family life. He left in the middle of the night, accompanied only by his personal doctor and a few close followers. His departure was driven by a desire to live in accordance with his beliefs, free from the material comforts and family responsibilities that he felt were incompatible with his spiritual ideals. However, Tolstoy's final journey was short-lived. After traveling for several days, he fell ill with pneumonia and was forced to stop at the remote railway station of Astapovo. There, in a small stationmaster's house, Tolstoy spent his final days. Despite his desire for solitude, news of his illness quickly spread, and reporters, admirers, and even his wife, Sophia, rushed to Astapovo in hopes of being with him in his final moments. On November 20, 1910, Tolstoy died at the age of 82, surrounded by a mixture of family, friends, and strangers. Tolstoy's death marked the end of an extraordinary life, one that had been dedicated to the pursuit of truth, justice, and moral integrity. His legacy as one of the greatest novelists in history was already well established, but his influence extended far beyond the realm of literature. Tolstoy's ideas on nonviolence, social justice, and personal responsibility continue to resonate with people around the world, inspiring generations of thinkers, writers, and activists to follow in his footsteps. Leo Tolstoy's influence on world literature, philosophy, and social activism is profound and enduring. Although his life was marked by internal struggles, personal conflict, and tensions with both religious and political institutions, his legacy as one of the most important figures of the 19th and early 20th centuries is undisputed. His works, both fictional and philosophical, continue to inspire readers, thinkers, and activists worldwide, and his ideas have had a lasting impact on movements for social justice and nonviolence. Tolstoy's influence on literature is perhaps his most well-known legacy. His novels, particularly War and Peace and Anna Karenina, are widely regarded as among the greatest works of world literature. Tolstoy's ability to depict the complexity of human emotions, relationships, and moral dilemmas, combined with his detailed portrayal of Russian society, has earned him a place alongside the greatest literary figures in history. His psychological insight and narrative depth influenced countless writers, including Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, and Thomas Mann, who admired Tolstoy's mastery of the novel form and his ability to capture the intricacies of human existence. In addition to his literary achievements, Tolstoy's moral and philosophical writings have had a significant impact on social and political movements around the world. His ideas on nonviolence, as articulated in works like The Kingdom of God is Within You and his letters to political activists, directly influenced figures such as Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and Cesar Chavez. Gandhi, in particular, was deeply inspired by Tolstoy's advocacy for nonviolent resistance to oppression, and the two corresponded for several years before Tolstoy's death. Gandhi later credited Tolstoy with helping to shape his own philosophy of nonviolent resistance, which became a cornerstone of the Indian independence movement. Tolstoy's ideas on social justice and the role of the individual in resisting oppression also resonated with other reformers and activists, particularly those involved in pacifist and anarchist movements. His rejection of institutionalized religion, his critique of state violence, and his belief in the power of personal moral responsibility made him a central figure in discussions about ethics, governance, and social reform. Many of his followers formed communities that sought to live out his principles, advocating for simpler living, communal sharing, and a commitment to nonviolent action. These communities, inspired by Tolstoy's teachings, aimed to create alternatives to the prevailing societal norms and contribute to a more just and equitable world. Tolstoy's emphasis on education and moral development also influenced various educational movements. His belief that true education should promote moral and spiritual growth, rather than merely imparting technical skills, found expression in his own efforts to establish schools for peasant children. He believed that access to education was crucial for empowering the lower classes and promoting social equality. His writings on education emphasized the importance of fostering critical thinking, creativity, and moral values, shaping educational philosophies that would later be adopted by progressive educators. Moreover, Tolstoy's thoughts on art and its purpose have continued to resonate with artists and theorists. In What is Art? He argued that art should serve a moral purpose and reflect the lived experiences of ordinary people, rather than catering to elite tastes. His assertion that art should evoke empathy and foster understanding has influenced generations of artists, writers, and philosophers who seek to use their work as a vehicle for social change and cultural reflection. Tolstoy's spiritual legacy is also noteworthy. His interpretation of Christianity as a path to love, compassion, and nonviolence has inspired many religious and secular thinkers. While he was excommunicated from the Orthodox Church, his ideas about the essence of Christianity continue to resonate with people of faith and those seeking spiritual guidance outside of traditional religious frameworks. Tolstoy's moral philosophy, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all human beings and the importance of personal conscience, remains relevant in discussions of ethics, morality, and social justice today. In the realm of philosophy, Tolstoy's ideas on ethics, particularly his advocacy for nonviolence and personal responsibility, have found traction within various philosophical movements. His belief that individuals must act according to their own moral compass, even in the face of societal norms or government edicts, has influenced contemporary discussions on civil disobedience, social justice, and individual rights. The impact of Tolstoy's life and work extends beyond his written words. His dedication to living according to his beliefs, even when it meant sacrificing personal comforts and familial relationships, serves as a powerful example of integrity and moral courage. His life story has inspired countless individuals to pursue their own paths of social justice and moral inquiry, demonstrating that literature and philosophy can drive real-world change. In addition to his influence on literature, philosophy, and social movements, Tolstoy's life has been the subject of numerous biographies, documentaries, and adaptations. These works often explore the complexities of his character, the tensions within his family, and the evolution of his beliefs over time. They highlight his contradictions, as a man of immense wealth and privilege who championed the cause of the oppressed, and as a literary genius who wrestled with deep spiritual and ethical questions throughout his life. Leo Tolstoy's legacy is multifaceted, encompassing his profound contributions to literature, his influence on social and political movements, and his commitment to moral integrity and spiritual exploration. His works continue to be studied, celebrated, and debated, reflecting the timeless nature of his insights into the human condition. As a writer, thinker, and activist, Tolstoy's life serves as a reminder of the power of literature and philosophy to inspire change and promote a more compassionate and just society. The last years of Leo Tolstoy's life were marked by a profound commitment to his beliefs, culminating in his dramatic departure from Yasnaya Polyana in 1910. At this stage, he had become increasingly disillusioned with the complexities of family life and the material comforts that he felt were at odds with his spiritual convictions. His desire for simplicity and a deeper connection to the essence of life drove him to seek solitude and contemplation away from the entanglements of his privileged existence. Tolstoy's decision to leave Yasnaya Polyana was a culmination of years of internal conflict. He had long struggled with the tension between his role as a prominent literary figure and his desire to live a life of moral integrity, free from the trappings of wealth and fame. The growing estrangement from his wife, Sophia, added to his sense of urgency. Their marriage had deteriorated into a source of pain and discord, as Sophia grappled with Tolstoy's radical ideas and his increasing asceticism. Their disagreements over lifestyle choices, finances, and Tolstoy's commitment to social reform created an emotional chasm that neither could bridge. In October 1910, feeling a deep yearning for freedom and purpose, Tolstoy resolved to leave his home and live as a wanderer, dedicated to his ideals. He packed a few belongings, including a few changes of clothing, some essential items, and a small amount of money, and slipped away from Yasnaya Polyana in the dead of night. This escape was both a physical and symbolic act, representing his rejection of the comforts of his aristocratic upbringing and his determination to live in accordance with his spiritual convictions. Tolstoy's journey was fraught with challenges. Traveling under the guise of a simple peasant, he sought refuge in various places, expressing a desire to connect with ordinary people and live a life of humility. His actions during this time were emblematic of his beliefs, as he engaged in discussions with peasants, sharing his thoughts on nonviolence and the importance of a moral life. However, the realities of his status as a famous author made it difficult for him to fully escape his identity, and he often found himself surrounded by admirers and journalists eager to capture his thoughts and experiences. As Tolstoy traveled, he suffered from increasing health issues, including severe exhaustion and pneumonia. His health rapidly declined, and by November, he was forced to stop at the remote railway station of Astapovo. There, he was taken in by the stationmaster's family, who recognized him and provided him with care. Despite his desire for solitude, word of Tolstoy's condition spread quickly, drawing a mix of family members, followers, and curious onlookers to the small station. During his final days, Tolstoy reflected on his life, his beliefs, and the impact of his work. His family, especially Sophia, who had rushed to his side, was plagued by the pain of their estrangement and the weight of unspoken words. Their relationship, once a source of passion and inspiration, had been marred by misunderstandings and conflicting ideals. In those last moments, the complexity of their shared life became painfully evident, as they grappled with love, regret, and the possibility of reconciliation. Tolstoy's death on November 20, 1910, marked the end of an era. His last words were reportedly directed toward a family member, as he expressed his wish to die peacefully. The simplicity of his passing echoed the values he had espoused throughout his life, rejecting materialism, embracing humility, and seeking a deeper connection with humanity. The news of Tolstoy's death sent shockwaves across Russia and the world. Thousands mourned the loss of the literary giant, and memorial services were held in various cities. His contributions to literature, philosophy, and social justice were celebrated, and tributes poured in from admirers and fellow writers alike. His funeral was a reflection of his complex legacy, with people from all walks of life coming to pay their respects to a man who had dedicated his life to the pursuit of truth, love, and moral integrity. Following his death, Tolstoy's writings continued to inspire new generations. His ideas on nonviolence, personal responsibility, and the search for meaning resonate with individuals seeking to navigate the complexities of modern life. His influence can be seen in various movements advocating for social justice, peace, and ethical living. The Tolstoyan communities established during his lifetime persisted, promoting his teachings and values in various forms. Tolstoy's literary legacy remains profound. His works have been translated into numerous languages and continue to be studied and celebrated for their depth, complexity, and insight into the human experience. His ability to portray the intricacies of love, morality, and the human condition transcends cultural and temporal boundaries, ensuring his place among the greatest writers in history. In examining Tolstoy's final years, it becomes evident that his life was a continual struggle for authenticity and moral integrity. His decisions were not merely acts of rebellion against societal norms, but were driven by a sincere desire to align his life with his beliefs. This quest for authenticity shaped his legacy, inviting readers and followers to reflect on their own lives and the choices they make in pursuit of meaning and purpose. Tolstoy's life and death serve as a poignant reminder of the power of literature and philosophy to inspire change, provoke thought, and illuminate the complexities of human existence. His unwavering commitment to love, compassion, and moral integrity continues to resonate in a world that often grapples with injustice and inequality, encouraging individuals to seek their own paths of moral clarity and social responsibility. Leo Tolstoy's life and works are a testament to the profound impact of literature on the human spirit and society. As one of the most significant literary figures of the 19th century, Tolstoy not only reshaped the landscape of Russian literature but also left an indelible mark on global thought, philosophy, and social activism. His exploration of human morality, the quest for meaning, and the complexities of love and relationships resonates deeply, making his works timeless and universally relevant. At the heart of Tolstoy's legacy lies his unwavering commitment to moral and ethical principles. His belief in the power of love, compassion, and nonviolence as catalysts for social change continues to inspire individuals and movements worldwide. In an age characterized by conflict and social upheaval, Tolstoy's teachings serve as a beacon of hope, reminding us of the potential for kindness and understanding to bridge divides and foster unity. Tolstoy's literary genius is evident in his ability to capture the intricacies of human relationships and the moral dilemmas faced by individuals in their pursuit of happiness and fulfillment. His novels, particularly War and Peace and Anna Karenina, delve into the complexities of life, exploring themes of love, fidelity, betrayal, and the search for meaning in a chaotic world. Through richly drawn characters and profound philosophical insights, Tolstoy invites readers to reflect on their own lives and the choices they make in the pursuit of a meaningful existence. Moreover, Tolstoy's exploration of social issues, particularly his advocacy for the rights of the oppressed and his critique of social inequality, resonates with contemporary movements for justice and equality. His writings on nonviolence and civil disobedience have influenced numerous activists and leaders, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela, who drew inspiration from Tolstoy's vision of a just society grounded in love and compassion. The impact of Tolstoy's philosophy extends beyond literature and social activism. His thoughts on education, personal responsibility, and the importance of moral integrity have shaped modern educational philosophies and ethical frameworks. His belief in the necessity of fostering critical thinking and moral development continues to influence educators, encouraging a holistic approach to education that prioritizes the cultivation of character alongside academic achievement. Tolstoy's commitment to living according to his beliefs, even in the face of personal sacrifice, serves as a powerful example of integrity and moral courage. His rejection of materialism and his embrace of a simpler, more purposeful life challenge individuals to reflect on their own values and priorities. In a world often driven by consumerism and ambition, Tolstoy's teachings encourage us to seek fulfillment in meaningful relationships, compassion for others, and a commitment to social justice. As we reflect on Tolstoy's life and legacy, it is clear that his contributions transcend the boundaries of literature and philosophy. His insights into the human experience continue to inspire and provoke thought, inviting us to confront our own moral dilemmas and consider our place in the world. Tolstoy's enduring influence serves as a reminder that literature has the power to shape our understanding of ourselves and our responsibilities to one another. Leo Tolstoy's life was a journey marked by exploration, struggle, and profound insight. His legacy as one of the greatest writers in history is intertwined with his unwavering commitment to moral integrity, social justice, and the pursuit of truth. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, Tolstoy's teachings continue to resonate, urging us to strive for a deeper understanding of ourselves, our relationships, and our responsibility to create a more just and compassionate world. In his own words, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. This call to introspection and moral responsibility remains as relevant today as it was during Tolstoy's lifetime, inspiring generations to seek a life rooted in love, compassion, and authenticity. Leo Tolstoy's literary oeuvre encompasses a wide range of themes and styles, making him one of the most studied and celebrated authors in world literature. His major works reflect his profound insights into human nature, morality, and the complexities of life. This section delves into an analysis of some of Tolstoy's most significant writings, examining the themes, characters, and philosophical underpinnings that define his literary legacy. War and Peace is often regarded as Tolstoy's magnum opus and is a monumental exploration of Russian society during the Napoleonic Wars. The novel intertwines the lives of fictional characters with historical figures, offering a panoramic view of the impact of war on individuals and society. At its core, War and Peace grapples with the themes of fate and free will. Tolstoy presents a deterministic view of history, suggesting that individual actions are often shaped by larger societal forces and historical inevitabilities. The characters, such as Pierre Bezukhov, Prince Andrei Bolkonsky, and Natasha Rostova, embody various responses to these forces, reflecting the complexities of human choice amidst the chaos of war. The novel's philosophical reflections challenge conventional narratives of heroism and glory associated with warfare. Tolstoy critiques the romanticization of war, emphasizing its brutality and the suffering it inflicts on individuals and families. The battle scenes are depicted with stark realism, contrasting sharply with the romantic ideals often associated with military conflict. Through his detailed portrayals of both the grand strategies of war and the intimate struggles of his characters, Tolstoy invites readers to contemplate the moral implications of violence and the human cost of conflict. Furthermore, the themes of love, friendship, and personal growth are intricately woven into the narrative. The development of the characters' relationships serves as a counterpoint to the chaos of war, illustrating the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for connection and empathy. Natasha's journey from youthful innocence to a mature understanding of love and sacrifice exemplifies Tolstoy's belief in the transformative power of human relationships. Tolstoy's narrative style in War and Peace is notable for its depth and complexity. He employs a mix of literary forms, including philosophical essays, historical commentary, and intimate character studies. This multi-layered approach enriches the reader's experience, allowing for a deeper engagement with the text's themes and ideas. The novel structure, with its expansive scope and interwoven narratives, reflects the interconnectedness of human lives and the shared experiences that define the human condition. Overall, War and Peace stands as a profound exploration of the intricacies of life, love, and war. Its enduring relevance lies in its ability to provoke reflection on the nature of humanity and the moral challenges we face in times of conflict. Anna Karenina is another of Tolstoy's seminal works, often hailed as one of the greatest novels ever written. The story revolves around the tragic love affair between Anna Karenina and Count Alexei Vronsky, set against the backdrop of Russian high society. Through this narrative, Tolstoy explores themes of love, fidelity, morality, and the constraints of societal norms. The novel is distinguished by its psychological depth and nuanced characterizations. Tolstoy masterfully delves into the inner lives of his characters, revealing their motivations, desires, and conflicts. Anna's struggle between her passionate love for Vronsky and her duties as a wife and mother exemplifies the tension between individual desires and societal expectations. Her tragic fate serves as a poignant commentary on the harsh realities faced by women in a patriarchal society, where personal happiness often comes at a steep cost. Tolstoy's exploration of moral dilemmas is a central theme in Anna Karenina. The novel raises questions about the nature of love and the ethical responsibilities inherent in relationships. While Anna and Vronsky's love is intense and passionate, it is also fraught with consequences that ultimately lead to tragedy. Tolstoy contrasts this with the relationship between Levin and Kitty, which embodies a more grounded and enduring love, rooted in mutual respect and shared values. This juxtaposition highlights the complexities of love and the differing paths individuals can take in their pursuit of happiness. Furthermore, the novel addresses broader social issues, including the constraints of marriage, the hypocrisy of societal norms, and the search for meaning in a rapidly changing world. Tolstoy critiques the superficiality of high society, exposing the moral emptiness that often accompanies wealth and status. Through Anna's tragic fate, he underscores the dangers of pursuing a life dictated by societal expectations at the expense of personal integrity. The narrative structure of Anna Karenina is also noteworthy for its interplay of different storylines and characters. Tolstoy weaves together multiple narratives, creating a rich tapestry of experiences that reflect the complexities of human relationships. This technique not only enhances the depth of the novel, but also emphasizes the interconnectedness of individual lives within the broader social context. In conclusion, Anna Karenina is a profound exploration of love, morality, and the human condition. Its psychological depth, social critique, and moral reflections contribute to its enduring status as a literary masterpiece. Through the struggles and triumphs of its characters, Tolstoy invites readers to grapple with the complexities of life and the ethical dilemmas that define our choices. The Kreutzer Sonata is a novella that exemplifies Tolstoy's later philosophical concerns, particularly regarding marriage, sexuality, and the nature of love. The narrative centers on a man named Pozhnichev, who recounts the story of his marriage and the events leading to his wife's infidelity and his subsequent violence against her. At its core, the Kreutzer Sonata serves as a critique of the institution of marriage and societal norms surrounding love and sexuality. Tolstoy's portrayal of Pozhnichev's jealousy and rage reflects his belief that conventional views of marriage often lead to moral decay and emotional suffering. The novella explores the darker aspects of human relationships, emphasizing the destructive potential of possessiveness and the constraints of societal expectations. Through the character of Pozhnichev, Tolstoy raises profound questions about the nature of love and the meaning of true connection. Pozhnichev's experiences challenge romantic ideals, revealing the complexities of desire, betrayal, and the consequences of emotional entanglement. His narrative serves as a cautionary tale, urging readers to reconsider societal norms that often prioritize appearances over genuine understanding and compassion. The influence of music is also significant in the novella, particularly through the titular sonata by Beethoven. Music serves as a metaphor for the emotional and spiritual dimensions of love, contrasting sharply with Pozhnichev's troubled relationships. The sonata becomes a symbol of both beauty and pain, embodying the complexities of human emotion and the struggles inherent in interpersonal connections. Tolstoy's exploration of sexuality and its implications for human relationships is particularly striking in the Kreutzer Sonata. His candid portrayal of desire and its potential for destruction reflects his evolving views on sexuality, which he believed should be approached with caution and mindfulness. The novella challenges conventional attitudes toward marriage and intimacy, advocating for a more thoughtful and ethical approach to love. Overall, the Kreutzer Sonata is a powerful exploration of the darker aspects of human relationships, challenging readers to confront their own beliefs about love, marriage, and morality. Through its provocative narrative and philosophical reflections, Tolstoy invites us to engage in a deeper examination of our connections with others and the ethical implications of our choices. Resurrection marks a significant turning point in Tolstoy's literary career, as it encapsulates his spiritual and moral awakening. The novel follows the story of Prince Dmitry Nekhlyudov, who seeks redemption after recognizing the consequences of his past actions and the suffering he has caused others. At its core, Resurrection explores themes of guilt, redemption, and the quest for moral truth. Tolstoy delves into the complexities of human conscience, illustrating how the pursuit of self-awareness and ethical living can lead to profound transformation. Dmitry's journey is emblematic of Tolstoy's belief in the possibility of personal redemption through genuine remorse and a commitment to social justice. The novel also serves as a critique of societal injustices, particularly the treatment of the marginalized and the criminalized. Through the character of Katyusha Maslova, a woman wronged by Dmitri's past actions, Tolstoy highlights the systemic injustices that perpetuate suffering and inequality. Katyusha's plight serves as a microcosm of the broader social issues facing Russia, reflecting Tolstoy's commitment to social reform and his belief in the moral imperative to advocate for the oppressed. Tolstoy's narrative style in Resurrection is characterized by its emotional depth and social critique. He employs vivid descriptions and powerful imagery to convey the moral dilemmas faced by his characters, inviting readers to engage with their struggles on a deeply personal level. The novel's episodic structure allows for a multifaceted exploration of themes, reflecting the complexities of human experience and the interconnectedness of individual lives within a larger social framework. Moreover, Resurrection serves as a reflection of Tolstoy's evolving spiritual beliefs. The novel grapples with questions of faith, morality, and the nature of redemption, emphasizing the importance of living a life grounded in love and compassion. Tolstoy's exploration of these themes resonates with readers seeking meaning and purpose in a world often marked by suffering and injustice. Resurrection stands as a powerful testament to Tolstoy's moral vision and literary prowess. Its exploration of guilt, redemption, and social justice underscores the enduring relevance of Tolstoy's insights into the human condition. Through Dmitri's journey, Tolstoy invites readers to reflect on their own moral choices and the potential for personal transformation in the pursuit of a more just and compassionate world. The Cossacks is an early work by Tolstoy that reflects his fascination with the Cossack way of life and the themes of nature, simplicity, and cultural identity. The novel follows the story of Alain, a young Russian nobleman who seeks to escape the constraints of high society and immerse himself in the Cossack community. At its core, the Cossacks explores the tension between civilization and nature, as well as the search for authenticity in a rapidly changing world. Olenin's journey represents a quest for self-discovery and a yearning for a simpler, more meaningful existence. Through his interactions with the Cossacks, Tolstoy contrasts the complexities of urban life with the perceived purity and authenticity of rural existence. The novel also delves into themes of love and desire, particularly through Olenin's relationship with Maryanka, a Cossack woman. Their romance embodies the clash between different cultural values and the challenges of navigating personal relationships within a broader societal context. Tolstoy's portrayal of love in the Cossacks reflects his belief in the transformative power of human connection, even in the face of cultural differences and societal expectations. Moreover, the Cossacks serves as a reflection of Tolstoy's evolving views on Russian identity and the relationship between the individual and the community. The Cossacks, with their distinct cultural practices and sense of freedom, represent an alternative to the rigid structures of Russian aristocracy. Through Olenin's experiences, Tolstoy grapples with questions of belonging, identity, and the search for a meaningful life. The novel is characterized by Tolstoy's vivid descriptions of nature and his ability to evoke a sense of place. The Cossack landscape serves as a backdrop for the characters' emotional journeys, reflecting the interconnectedness of humanity and the natural world. Tolstoy's appreciation for the beauty and complexity of nature is evident throughout the narrative, emphasizing the importance of cultivating a deeper connection to the environment. The Cossacks offers a rich exploration of themes related to identity, love, and the human relationship with nature. Through Olenin's journey, Tolstoy invites readers to reflect on their own search for meaning and authenticity in a world often characterized by complexity and change. The novel stands as a testament to Tolstoy's literary prowess and his enduring interest in the complexities of the human experience. Leo Tolstoy's philosophical beliefs were profoundly shaped by his life experiences, spiritual awakenings, and reflections on morality and ethics. His writings, particularly in his later years, reveal a deep commitment to living a life grounded in love, compassion, and a search for truth. This section delves into Tolstoy's philosophy of life, examining the key principles that guided his thinking and influenced his literary works. Central to Tolstoy's philosophy is the quest for meaning and understanding in life. Throughout his works, he grapples with existential questions about the purpose of existence and the nature of happiness. Tolstoy's own struggles with depression and moral crises led him to seek answers beyond material wealth and societal success. In his later writings, Tolstoy articulated a vision of life that emphasizes the importance of inner fulfillment and spiritual growth. He believed that true happiness is not found in external achievements or possessions, but in the cultivation of meaningful relationships and a deep sense of connection with others. This emphasis on inner life and self-awareness is a recurring theme in his literary works, reflecting his belief in the transformative power of love and compassion. Tolstoy's commitment to moral integrity is evident in his advocacy for nonviolence and civil disobedience. His writings on ethics emphasize the importance of personal responsibility and the need for individuals to act in accordance with their moral convictions. Tolstoy rejected the use of violence as a means to achieve social or political change, believing instead that true progress can only be attained through love and understanding. His philosophy of nonviolence was deeply influenced by his interpretation of Christian teachings, particularly the Sermon on the Mount. Tolstoy's interpretation of Jesus' message emphasizes love for one's neighbor, forgiveness, and compassion, which he believed should guide human interactions. This moral framework not only informed his personal beliefs but also inspired social movements around the world, including those led by figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. Tolstoy placed significant value on community and the interconnectedness of human beings. He believed that individuals are shaped by their relationships with others and that true fulfillment comes from contributing to the well-being of the community. This belief is reflected in his writings on social justice and the rights of the oppressed. In his later years, Tolstoy became increasingly involved in social activism, advocating for the rights of peasants and marginalized groups. He emphasized the importance of solidarity and collective responsibility, urging individuals to recognize their shared humanity and work towards a more just society. This commitment to community and social justice underscores the ethical dimension of Tolstoy's philosophy and his belief in the potential for positive change through collective action. Tolstoy's rejection of materialism and his embrace of simplicity are key aspects of his philosophy. He believed that modern society's obsession with wealth and consumption detracts from the pursuit of a meaningful life. Tolstoy advocated for a simpler lifestyle, focusing on the essentials of life and fostering genuine connections with others. His writings often reflect a critique of consumer culture and the moral dilemmas associated with material wealth. Tolstoy argued that true fulfillment comes from living in accordance with one's values and prioritizing the well-being of others over personal gain. This belief in the importance of simplicity is evident in both his personal life and his literary works, where he often depicts characters seeking fulfillment through authentic relationships and acts of kindness. Tolstoy's spiritual beliefs evolved throughout his life, culminating in a vision of faith rooted in love and compassion. He sought to reconcile his Christian beliefs with his philosophical insights, emphasizing the importance of living in alignment with one's spiritual values. Tolstoy's interpretation of Christianity was marked by a focus on the ethical teachings of Jesus rather than doctrinal dogmas or institutionalized religion. In his later writings, Tolstoy articulated a vision of spirituality that transcended traditional religious boundaries. He believed that all individuals possess an innate capacity for goodness and that spiritual growth involves recognizing and nurturing this inherent potential. Tolstoy's emphasis on love, compassion, and the pursuit of truth reflects his belief in the transformative power of spirituality to guide individuals toward a more meaningful existence. Tolstoy's impact on literature and culture extends far beyond his own works, influencing generations of writers, thinkers, and activists. His exploration of complex human emotions, moral dilemmas, and social issues resonates with audiences across time and space. This section examines the profound influence of Tolstoy on literature, philosophy, and social movements worldwide. Tolstoy's literary legacy is marked by his mastery of character development, narrative structure, and thematic depth. His works have inspired countless writers, shaping the landscape of modern literature. Authors such as Fyodor Dostoevsky, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, and Franz Kafka have acknowledged Tolstoy's influence on their own writing, particularly in their exploration of the human psyche and the moral complexities of life. The psychological depth of Tolstoy's characters has set a standard for literary realism, prompting writers to delve into the intricacies of human behavior and motivation. His ability to depict the internal struggles of his characters, along with their moral dilemmas, has paved the way for a more nuanced understanding of character development in literature. Tolstoy's exploration of social issues, particularly through works like War and Peace and Anna Karenina, has inspired writers to engage with political and social themes in their own narratives. His critique of societal norms and injustices resonates with authors seeking to address contemporary issues and advocate for social change through literature. Tolstoy's philosophical writings have left a lasting impact on thinkers and scholars, particularly in the fields of ethics, politics, and spirituality. His emphasis on nonviolence, moral responsibility, and the quest for meaning has inspired philosophical movements that advocate for social justice and ethical living. The principles of Tolstoyan nonviolence have influenced prominent figures such as Mahatma Gandhi, who drew upon Tolstoy's ideas to develop his philosophy of passive resistance and civil disobedience. Gandhi's interpretation of Tolstoy's teachings reflects the universal applicability of his moral insights, highlighting the relevance of Tolstoy's philosophy in diverse cultural contexts. Tolstoy's exploration of existential questions and the search for meaning in life has also resonated with existentialist philosophers such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. His reflections on the human condition and the complexities of moral choice have contributed to broader discussions on the nature of existence and the ethical dilemmas faced by individuals. Tolstoy's commitment to social justice and his advocacy for the rights of the oppressed have had a profound impact on social reform movements worldwide. His writings on the plight of peasants, the critique of social inequality, and the call for ethical living have inspired activists and reformers to challenge unjust systems and work towards a more equitable society. The social and political ideas espoused by Tolstoy have been embraced by various movements, including those advocating for labor rights, civil rights, and anti-colonial struggles. His emphasis on compassion, solidarity, and the moral imperative to address social injustices resonates with activists seeking to create positive change in their communities. Tolstoy's vision of a just society, grounded in love and mutual respect, continues to inspire contemporary social movements that prioritize human dignity and the rights of marginalized individuals. His legacy serves as a reminder of the power of literature and philosophy to challenge societal norms and advocate for a more just and compassionate world. Tolstoy's influence extends beyond Russia, reaching readers and thinkers worldwide. His works have been translated into numerous languages, allowing diverse audiences to engage with his ideas and explore the complexities of the human experience. The universal themes of love, suffering, and moral responsibility present in Tolstoy's writing resonate with readers across cultures and time periods. In addition to literature, Tolstoy's philosophical insights have permeated various artistic and cultural expressions. His exploration of the human condition has inspired filmmakers, playwrights, and visual artists to engage with themes of love, morality, and the search for meaning in their works. The adaptability of Tolstoy's ideas in different artistic mediums highlights the enduring relevance of his insights and the power of storytelling to transcend cultural boundaries. Tolstoy's legacy is celebrated through numerous literary awards, festivals, and commemorative events that honor his contributions to literature and philosophy. Institutions dedicated to the study of Tolstoy's works, such as the Leo Tolstoy Museum in Yasnaya Polyana, serve as hubs for research and cultural exchange, ensuring that his ideas continue to inspire future generations. The ongoing relevance of Tolstoy's writings is evident in the continued exploration of his themes in contemporary literature and social discourse. His insights into the complexities of human relationships, moral dilemmas, and the quest for truth remain pertinent in a world grappling with issues of justice, compassion, and the search for meaning. In conclusion, Leo Tolstoy's influence on literature and culture is profound and far-reaching. His exploration of the human experience, moral responsibility, and social justice continues to resonate with audiences worldwide. Through his writings, Tolstoy invites readers to engage with the complexities of life and the ethical dilemmas that define our existence, leaving an enduring legacy that inspires reflection and action. Leo Tolstoy's life and works encompass a remarkable journey of literary genius, moral exploration, and spiritual awakening. His contributions to literature, philosophy, and social justice have left an indelible mark on the world, inspiring generations of readers and thinkers to grapple with the complexities of human existence. Throughout his prolific career, Tolstoy demonstrated a profound understanding of the human condition, exploring themes of love, suffering, morality, and the quest for meaning. His masterpieces, including War and Peace, Anna Karenina, and the Kreutzer Sonata, reveal his ability to capture the intricacies of human relationships and the moral dilemmas faced by individuals in a rapidly changing world. Tolstoy's philosophy, rooted in love, compassion, and a commitment to social justice, reflects his belief in the potential for personal and collective transformation. His advocacy for nonviolence, moral responsibility, and simplicity continues to resonate with contemporary movements seeking to create positive change in society. Through his writings, Tolstoy challenges readers to reflect on their own moral choices and the ethical implications of their actions, urging a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all human beings. As a writer, thinker, and social reformer, Tolstoy's legacy transcends cultural and temporal boundaries. His exploration of universal themes and his commitment to truth and justice invite readers to engage with the complexities of life and the moral responsibilities inherent in human existence. Tolstoy's works serve as a testament to the enduring power of literature to inspire change, provoke thought, and illuminate the path toward a more compassionate and just world. In reflecting on Tolstoy's life and contributions, we are reminded of the importance of love, empathy, and moral courage in navigating the challenges of our time. His legacy encourages us to embrace our shared humanity, seek understanding and connection with others, and strive for a more just and compassionate society. As we continue to engage with Tolstoy's writings and philosophy, we are invited to embark on our own journeys of self-discovery, moral reflection, and a commitment to fostering a more humane and equitable world. Through his profound insights and timeless wisdom, Leo Tolstoy remains an enduring source of inspiration for all who seek to understand the complexities of life and the moral imperatives that guide our existence.